station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
Tonight on DC News Now at 9, a teenage girl shot and killed walking home from school. The search for her killer as the community grapples with this shocking, tragic loss.
In every single ward, cars are being stolen. That's a concern to me.
Plus, a shocking number of car thefts in the district. Neighbors have had enough. What they want to be done about the issue.
And 22 years later, we remember the thousands of lives lost on September 11, 2001, a day that forever changed history as we know it. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for DC News Now at 9 o'clock. I'm Chris Flanagan.
And I'm Annalisa Gale filling in for Tasmin Mahfouz. Our top story tonight, Prince George's County Police are investigating a deadly shooting involving a Duval High School student. Tonight, we're learning the teenage girl was shot as she was walking home from school. And also tonight, the search continues for the person responsible for that shooting. Our Yamari Sase is in Prince George's County with the very latest.
It's been hours and Prince George's County Police are still investigating. They say a teenage girl was walking home from Duval High School just a few feet away when a fight broke out between two groups and someone decided to open fire, shooting and killing her. Now at this moment it's unclear whether she was a part of that fight or whether she was just a bystander, but police, neighbors and county leaders say they are tired of the gun violence.
This is not an easy day in Prince George's County. And we shouldn't be here today.
A tragic loss for the Duval High School community.
Change in our schools, change in our community must happen.
County officials and law enforcement addressing the incident Monday evening. Police say around 3 p.m. a teenage girl was walking home from school on Palomar Drive in Woodstream Circle. That's when a dispute broke out between two groups and she was shot. She was rushed to a hospital and that's where she later died. It's unclear whether she was a part of the dispute or just a bystander.
We are determined to find a suspect who callously, in broad daylight, killed one of our teenagers in our community.
Earlier this year, Prince George's County Public Schools announced metal detectors would be placed in all high schools. They were supposed to be installed at Duval High School in the upcoming months, but after today,
We're going to actually move that up to ensure that this community feels the kind of safety that we know it wants.
people in the community say the gun violence has to stop.
Your child leave out this morning, go to school, and in the evening your child is dead. It's heart-wrenching.
The superintendent says those metal detectors will be installed in the next few days at Duval High School. And police say this is still an ongoing investigation, but they're doing everything they can to find the suspects in this incident. For now, reporting in Atlanta, Maryland, I'm Yamari Sase, DC News Now.
Yamari, thank you. And we're following breaking news in the district right now. We've learned a teen was shot and killed after a fight earlier today. It happened on Washington Place in Northeast D.C. When officers arrived to the scene, they found the teen boy and a man shot. Police say the teen was a victim in an altercation and the adult man attempted to intervene when the shots were fired by a suspect. The suspects are described as three males wearing all black and blue masks. One suspect was armed with a handgun there. All of them got away in a black SUV.
And staying in the district tonight, the number of stolen cars in D.C. is skyrocketing. New data shows a 110% increase in the crime this year. Our Marielle Carbone live in Northwest D.C. for us today. Marielle, you've been digging into this data. So far this year, we've surpassed a staggering 5,000 stolen cars.
Yeah, we have, Chris. And just to put that into perspective, we're talking about an average of 20 stolen cars here in the district per day. That means 20 families going out to get in their cars in the morning, only to find that the cars aren't here. Now, neighbors I spoke to, they tell me that the numbers are concerning.
It was quite the welcome to the neighborhood.
Only 2 weeks after moving from Shaw to Bloomingdale, Raul K says his wife witnessed an attempted carjacking.
Yeah, it was scary.
So to hear auto thefts and carjackings are up in D.C. isn't entirely surprising.
Our car had already been broken into a couple times when we lived in Shaw.
According to D.C. police data, 5,005 cars have been stolen so far this year. And that's up 110% compared to the same time last year, when about 2,400 1,500 cars have been stolen. Carjackings are also up, with nearly 700 year to date.
In every single ward, cars are being stolen. That's a concern to me.
Denise Krepp is a former ANC commissioner in Ward 6.
It says that criminals think that, they can steal cars, they can take the tires off, they can rob people.
To prevent becoming a victim, MPD recommends investing in a vehicle immobilizer like a smart key, parking in well-lit areas, and getting a steering wheel lock.
You know what it says to a person like me who got a lock? Please get a lock because we're not going to prosecute.
Krepp wants to see more accountability.
Tougher laws, hiring more police.
I'm glad that we drive a pretty bad car.
As for Kay, his family is taking precautions.
We tend to keep the car closed. We tend to keep it empty.
Now there is. Just stay where you're at. And MPD earlier this year did give out free steering wheel locks to drivers who have a Kia or a Hyundai. And Chris and Annalisa, we know D.C. is not the only area dealing with this. Prince George's County also having the same issue, and police there are recommending that drivers get a steering wheel lock as well. Reporting live in Northwest D.C. tonight, I'm Marielle Carbone, D.C. News Now.
All right, Marielle, thank you. Well, new at 9, a boil water advisory has been lifted for a portion of Frederick County, Maryland. That advisory had been issued earlier today for customers in the Clover Hill 3 community. The county gave an update at around 6:30 this evening, saying crews were able to make those repairs without any issues.
All right, let's get a first check on the forecast with Chief Meteorologist Janessa Webb.
And it's mostly dry tonight after a little bit of rain earlier today, Janessa.
Yeah, definitely seeing some drier conditions across the region. You can see a live look at the White House right now. Things are looking pretty lovely across the metro area as we continue to track in partly cloudy conditions, a little bit of drying effect, and so we're happy to see that. Really, the clearing will continue to unfold across the region. What are you looking at? I know when people see green on the radar, automatically assume, hey, what are you seeing rain across the region? This is actually what we call ground clutter. At this point, we have a bird migration that is happening across the DMV. So these are all the birds that are in the upper atmosphere getting picked up by our current radar. The rest of us were sitting under pretty dry conditions, northwesterly winds. They're on the light side earlier this afternoon. They were a little bit more on the hefty side, but things are starting to kind of calm down. We did deal with a few spot showers earlier this afternoon. We're going to continue to dry out overnight, and we're off to a very sunny start for your Tuesday. Temperature-wise across the region, definitely falling fairly quickly. 76 for Fairfax County, out towards Winchester, portions of Montgomery County, Prince George, back into the middle 70s. And so it should be a pretty cool, pleasant night across the region. Overnight, could see some overnight fog start to kind of develop, partly cloudy, and then waking up could run into low visibility in some locations. That should start to dissipate as we go into 9, 10 a.m. Tomorrow morning. We are tracking late evening showers for your Tuesday. We'll time that out coming up.
We'll never forget that when faced with evil and an enemy who sought to tear us apart, we endured. We endured.
President Biden delivering remarks on this National Day of Mourning, the United States marking 22 years since the 9/11 terrorist attacks.
Commemoration stretched all across the nation. They honored the nearly 3,000 people who lost their lives and the many heroes who saved lives that day. A day every American has been impacted by, and a day that hits especially close to home for those who lived or worked in around D.C. at the time.
And on September 11th, 2001, 184 lives were lost when a hijacker flew a plane into the southwest corner of the Pentagon, killing everyone on board and many more inside the building. A wreath-laying ceremony at the Pentagon today recognizing the victims and first responders like Arlington Fire Captain Justin Trevelli, who risked his life to save others more than 2 decades ago.
Certainly it is important to remember this day, not only because of what happened here, but because of what we can accomplish in the future by learning from all of this. Our young people who weren't even alive when this happened are able now to carry the torch for us in building a better future for everyone.
And several D.C. schools were touched by the terror attacks. This tree planted in honor of Ketchum Elementary students Rodney Dickens and teacher James Dubinauer. They're among 6 people from D.C. public schools who died when Flight 77 hit the Pentagon.
And the 4 other victims, Leckie Elementary teacher Hilda Taylor and student Bernard Brown, Bertie Backus, a middle school teacher Sarah Clark, and student Asia Cottom. The 6 had planned to attend a National Geographic conference in California.
In a presidential first, President Biden marked a solemn day with a visit to a military base in Alaska. He's the first U.S. president to commemorate 9/11 in the western U.S. In most cases, he and his predecessors have gone to one of the 3 attack sites. In New York City, the vice president paid her respects at Ground Zero, where families read the names of the fallen. The annual ceremony at the World Trade Center featured the traditional ways of mourning and opening drum cadence, a rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, and moments of silence. Frank Siller, founder of the Tunnel to Towers Foundation, is one of thousands who lost a family member that day.
He raised my brother. My parents died when my brother was a little boy. He was 10 years old by the time he was orphaned at 10 years old. And we were much older, and we raised him. He was as much a son to me as he was a brother. So yes, it's very painful on this day.
And he does such remarkable work raising money for fallen heroes.
And trending right now, there was actually a rainbow, Chris, over most of New York City this afternoon. So lots of people saying that was special to see that today in New York. So good for them.
Yeah, very much so.
All right.